So back in the 70s, when we were making records in Los Angeles, someone coined the phrase the LA Mafia, which is what we were considered. So the LA Mafia really was a conglomeration of a lot of people and a lot of different artists, but they were all on the same kind of musical path. It was like Jackson Browne and Linda Ronstadt and James Taylor and all these people were doing these pop records at the time, but you know, Linda was recording country songs and making them big hits. The biggest hit of her career was Blue Bayou, you know, and that's Roy Orbison, you know, and he's certainly not what I would consider like a rock singer or, you know, he was a pop singer in his era, but they all kind of came out of that whole Memphis, even though he didn't, that whole Memphis period that was Elvis and Carl Perkins and Johnny Cash and all those artists that came out of Memphis and you know it all became part and parcel to it. But you know, and Jackson Brown's the same thing. You know, I mean, his songs today would almost be considered country. I mean, Take It Easy that he wrote with Glenn. I mean, that's like a country song. So there was a thing in that period where there was such an imprint, especially when you would think about it, it was always the East Coast versus the West Coast, because the East Coast was like the Four Seasons and an artist of that ilk, and the West Coast was Linda and James and you know Jackson Brown and the Eagles, and you know that was the kind of the comparison. So the people on the East Coast would always be thinking, yeah, how do these guys make these kind of records? Because you know there it was, you know, Felix and those guys and that band and you know the Love and Spoonful and you know artists of that type. And I got associated with what they call the LA Mafia because I was making all those records at the time with Linda and James and J.D. Souther and Andrew Gold and Orleans and the Four Seasons. I created the West Coast version of them, which was December '63. Oh, what a night! I did that record with them, and you know I became noted as being part of the L.A. Mafia. It was just simply the musical group of people that were in the musical family of Los Angeles at that time. That's how it got tagged.